What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tom Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Hey, welcome back to the Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is sponsored by TonaLaw. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. TonaLaw is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out TonaLaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. This episode is also brought to you by Meet Gabby, the voice AI built for law firms. Gabby answers your phones 24/7, qualifies leads, and books consultations so you never miss another client. Imagine cutting intake time in half or giving every caller a 5-star experience. That's the power of Meet Gabby. Learn more at meetgabby.com. Mention the Lead Counsel Podcast. You can also hit me up, and I'm glad to make an introduction to the owner. We are here with Michelle Dellino. Michelle, how are you?
Great, Tom. Great to be here with you. Thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate it. So when you reached out and we were kind of introduced on Ryan McKean's Best Era Slack channel, the way Ryan introduced you, I was like, all right, I got to get her on. I typically, as somebody who's building an 8-figure entity, I'm always surrounding myself with people who have either done it recently or they're 9 figures or multiple 8 figures because I want to learn, right? I want to learn from them. And I feel like the best way to do it and the shortest route is to talk to people who've done it, taking the bumps and bruises along the way.
Me too.
So let's give a little history on you really quick. Tell me a little bit about when you founded Dellino Family Law.
Yeah, so I founded the firm in 2013. I was doing criminal defense primarily before that. So when I started, I opened the doors doing criminal defense and family law. Criminal defense was kind of my first love, the first thing that I really did. But there was so much crossover with family law. And I realized really quickly that family law is better business. So it sort of went from, 50-50 family and criminal to sort of eventually phasing out the criminal. And we've been all family law for quite a long time. So this is our 12th year.
You were introduced to me, and I don't think it's a secret. I think you've put it out online that you're an 8-figure law firm, right?
Right.
How long did it take you to break that number? Because 10 million is now the new million.
Yeah, it took me 10 years. So a little over 10 years.
And I will tell you that is remarkable from a scaling perspective. As somebody who's doing these things now and in talking to other people in that space, in that category, let's say, 10 years is bananas. Like that is a crazy fast trajectory, especially for family law.
Yeah, for family law, I think so. I think, kind of like you said, I've tried to surround myself with people who are already there or who were ahead of me in getting there, just to sort of put some pieces together and figure out how to make it happen. You say 10 years is really fast. I don't have a lot of context. So for me, I felt like I wish I could have been there sooner, but I felt like we had a strong trajectory, and I definitely learned from mistakes I made along the way at times, growing too fast and everything else. So I think it's been a good run to get there. I've got a lot more to do.
That's part of it, right? Growing too fast is part of the process. We've all done it. I was talking to a young firm owner over the weekend. I belong to another one of these online groups. It's crazy how many are popping up.
Yeah.
And, he's talking about the revenue level he's at and the number of employees. And I was like, there's a reason why you're up at 3:00 in the morning, my friend.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yep.
You're learning the process where you realize that chasing that top line revenue number without the profit and some real hard knowledge of the data is, we've all gone through it. We've all done it. It's part of the process. So I'm assuming when you went through those pain points, you learned those same lessons and you got to the point where you have to then scale back to start again, and you've done all that?
Yeah, you got to make changes. Like, I think in the beginning, I'm a pretty much, I would say I have a high risk tolerance profile. So I'm kind of like, let's hire as many people as we can and let's do all these things. And then you realize you don't have the systems for it and you don't have the infrastructure. So then you got to take a step back and get the infrastructure to make it sustainable. So I definitely learned from growing too fast without infrastructure and then having to go back and put that in place. I can tell you, Tom, like I've made so many mistakes, but every time, we all have, right? But it's really what you learn from them, because you don't get there unless you make those mistakes, unless you're up until the middle of the night worrying about what's going to happen and what you're going to do and figuring it out, and then learning how to delegate. And for me, I had a hard time learning how to delegate, but you really do have to like delegate to elevate, as they say. So figuring that out took me longer than maybe it should have. But once I did, it was kind of no stopping.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think we're kind of kindred spirits. I think most entrepreneurial law firm owners are, right? Where you got to have a high risk tolerance, you got to have a high pain tolerance.
Yep.
And I'm like you, I'm like, let's just keep selling and we'll figure it out. But the lesson you learn along the way is it's great to have a lot of clients, but if you don't have the infrastructure really tight, you have a lot of unhappy clients.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want is a lot of unhappy clients. So you kind of take that step back, and everything you're saying is kind of in the rearview mirror for me at this point. But again, it's kind of the process you can't skip over, right? When I hear people talking and they're sub 2 million and they've got 8 lawyers and they are a sub 10% profit margin, I know they're paying. I also know what's coming, as do you. And you know that they will survive. Most of the time they'll reset, right? They'll have to reset. So you've said, in some of the answers you sent in with the questionnaire, that you believe that there's always a solution for every problem.
Yeah.
And how did that shape the early days of your law firm?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do feel that way. I feel like people are looking for two things when they're hiring, especially in family law and probably in PI and everything else. They're looking for two things. They're looking for hope and they're looking for security. That's really it. And if you're able to give them hope that their situation's going to get better, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And the key thing is also being able to combine that with like security, that you're going to get them there, that you're going to make it happen, and that there is a solution. Those are really the two things that you need to make people feel good about working with you and your firm. I mean, I always tell people, all I was really doing was selling them hope and security and kind of locking that in. And that was always my focus from the early days. It wasn't like I'm desperate to get these people to hire me, or, I'm trying to tell them something amazing that's going to happen in their case. It was like, I'm going to give them hope that they're going to get through it. And I'm going to give them a security that we've got a plan. That's really it. And so I started locking that in early. And doing that, I think, was instrumental. And, you mentioned another thing. You mentioned like that $2 million revenue person who's at a 10%, profit. They're 2 million gross, 2 million in net revenue. And it's really not just about like the big numbers. You realize that too.
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, it's not like I could say, I will do $12 million this year. And if I'm doing 10% in profit, that means absolutely nothing. And that's kind of one of those things early on I had to realize too. All right, I want to give everybody a solution, but I only want to give a solution to people that are going to pay me. So I think learning early on not to be somebody's banker is huge. And I talked to a lot of other law firm owners who haven't really scaled up yet and want to, and they're still like extending in family law. They're still extending a lot of credit to clients. They're still letting people not pay them. They're still not having money in trust. And that just doesn't work. It's not scalable.
Yeah. And I think, everybody says the following, and this is not an original phrase of mine, but gross is vanity, profit is sanity, right? And for anybody that's listening to this, we've all done the other thing, right? You go 100%. To a conference and everybody's like, you got to have capacity, so hire, but without the magic word you gave before, which is context.
Yeah.
So these coaching programs, they used to say, you got to build capacity and then everything will work out. That's not really the way it works, right?
No.
You can have 20 of the wrong lawyers,
right,
and you're bleeding every day. Another pain point we've all experienced. Yeah. And there's grades to this stuff. So all of a sudden you've got an A player, they're throwing up $1.5 million, $2 million on their own a year. And all of a sudden you see, one A player does the work of 3 C players or B- players, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you another question before I go into the other framework I was going to use. In growing your firm to where you are now, are you on EOS or another type of operating system?
Great question. We started with EOS maybe, I don't know, I would say 4 or 5 years ago. We read traction. We started with EOS. We had somebody come in and get it going for us. And that's kind of what we're doing, but we're doing more of a modified version that works for us. But yeah, it's basically an EOS model. And it's been great. It was a huge game changer for me, giving some structure and just really thinking about things in an organized way like that. So,
Yeah. We did the same thing, and I'm kind of the way my brain works, because I got that squirrel ADD brain. So at first, out of the box worked great. I've kind of grown to the point now where I see the holes in EOS, right? There's holes in every system.
Yeah.
So like they don't tell you that there's levels to leadership, and all of a sudden you're looking at leadership and going, oh, where are my gaps, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm actually moving away from the visionary integrator names, because they're not used anywhere else in the world other than if you're in EOS. And it makes me crazy. Like if I'm talking to a $400,000 COO, $300,000 COO, they're like, that's a nice, cute name, but there's only 3 levels of operations you need to know, that type of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But you're laughing because you probably went through the same thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't really like to use those words either for the same reason. It doesn't cross disciplines, and it doesn't make sense to other people. Yeah.
I mean, John Knockhazel, who is the OG in law firm operations, uses the term COO. He doesn't call himself an integrator.
Totally.
And they're the coaching with Gino, right?
Yeah.
So Gino Wickman. So talking about people and culture as growth drivers, I know that you're a huge proponent of people, right?
Yeah.
So I hate to put you on the spot, but give me your core values for your firm. I know you have core values for your firm. And I want to see how you're applying those as filters, both in hiring and beyond hiring, right? With clients even.
Yeah. And I would say that when I think about our values, that was probably one of the most valuable things about EOS when we first implemented it, was really drilling down on like what was important and what our values are. And I will say, when I talk about mistakes that I've made before I give you the values, one of the mistakes I've made at times is not bringing everything back to that. And we have focused, as we've grown, really heavily in the last few years about evaluating our people with our values, evaluating what we're doing when we make decisions. And when we've gotten away from that is where we've gotten into trouble. The number one value for us is communication. For me, like that was kind of how I built my practice in the beginning, was just communicating really well with people. I've realized like what a low bar that is, unfortunately, in our industry.
Right.
And it's like, if you're just getting back to people and talking to them in a way that's real, they love that. So communication is number one. Excellence in what we do is obvious, but that's number two. Like you said, if you've got 20 bad lawyers, it doesn't help you. Accountability is number three. We believe in being accountable to ourselves and to the clients. And diligence is another one. That's kind of one of my personal values. I used to feel like, okay, maybe I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I can outwork anybody. So, hard work is super just important to me, always has been. And then we have 2 more, one we added like 2 years ago. The last 2 are loyalty to the firm and the mission, kind of a overarching, let's stay loyal to the values. And then the last one is growth. Some people prefer to say adaptability, but I like to just call it growth, even though our team kind of clashed over what to call it. But I tell people, like, if you don't want to be somewhere that's going to grow, where we're going to challenge you and push you, and where we're focused on what's next and what's better for the client, then you don't want to be here. If you want to go be somewhere where they're still, doing paper files and doing everything the way they've always done it, then don't be here. But if you want to grow and you're adaptable, be here. And we believe in always trying to provide better things for our clients. We're trying to do some new things. We've introduced case status, which family firms aren't really using. I'm always looking for something better to help us grow and serve the clients. Like if it's not serving clients well, or it's not making money, we shouldn't be doing it, is kind of how I see it. So
what I think is brilliant about you and what you just said, and I've noticed this, is that you said a lot of family firms aren't using case status, right? Now, there's another competitor product as well. I don't use either right now because Smart Advocate, it's all built in. We can customize it. But you're in a lot of rooms with PI lawyers. Yeah. And I know that there's a handful of people that started showing up in the masterminds that I attend, the Slack channels that are primarily personal injury, but you, Jay Ruane, Adam Rossin, Adam shows up at all of these masterminds where all these PI lawyers are, and he loves being the only criminal defense lawyer in the room, or 2 out of 3, right? Seth Price does criminal defense, but he's got a mega firm, and Jay Ruane will show up. And I think it's awesome. I've convinced a friend of mine, James Joseph, who's a matrimonial attorney in New York,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I need you to start showing up at this stuff. I need you to start being in the room, because he's just doing it differently.
Yeah.
But you need to see the other entrepreneurial brains that are just, and PI lawyers, we're like you, we're very comfortable with risk. I mean, we're 100% contingency based.
Yeah.
And we're willing to make mistakes. We're willing to spend money, make mistakes, keep trying. But I think that that's what's cool about what you said that you're doing. It's probably why you grew as fast as you did.
Yeah. 100%. I think I've learned a lot from Jay Ruane, from Ryan, from those guys over the years. And absolutely, I always kind of felt like, man, I sort of maybe missed the boat with PI. I was maybe sort of more suited to those kind of practitioners. And I've learned so much just by thinking about things. Oh, they're doing that. Why can't we do that? Why doesn't that make sense for us? You know, a lot of family attorneys think about things more conservatively, or they don't litigate as much, or it's just, there's a lot of different things about family law that are different. And I think since I started in criminal law, I had a little bit of a different mindset going in, and criminal law was a lot more like learning to hustle right away to get clients, and you got to respond to people right away. And it was a lot more, learning to understand. I understood about Google ads, very early on, and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of, being in the room with people that are going to challenge you. And I'd way rather be in the room with a bunch of PI lawyers and hear what they're doing, honestly, than most family law attorneys. So that makes a lot of sense.
I have begged James, I said, you need to start a family law mastermind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I talked to Jeff Hughes about it, right? Jeff Sterling Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, again, there's such a small, cohesive world of like you, Jeff, James, Marco Brown, where Marco is an MSO, a multi-state operator, where I got to say, I'm not sure if he's the first family lawyer to do it, but
he's
how
one
many
of them.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many family lawyers are breaking into other states, and he's so to me, you talk about growth, right? My core values are very similar to yours. And you talk about communication. I adopted the concept of kind candor from Gary Vee, right?
Oh, that's great.
It spoke to me so much, because I finally hit that point where I was like, you know what? You got to tell it like it is, with no fear of emotional anything, but use kindness, right? Deploy kindness. And I think I heard you on a podcast say something along those lines of having the boundary with your team, right? And that is when I think you step into the true CEO suit that you put on, right? When you say, 20 years of doing this, I got the answers. I've got coaches and advisors, but who knows how to scale this better than me? And you start making moves and letting them know versus, am I doing the right thing? And that's that mindset shift, I think.
Yeah, I think constantly, I think it's a definite shift, and it takes time. But early on, you're smaller, everybody's kind of friends in the beginning, and you're kind of more like peers with the people that work with you. And you're not as much you don't see yourself in that leadership role. You're more worried about, oh, well, what are they going to think? Or, then you start realizing, no, I'm growing this business. I know what I'm doing. And you stop looking for reassurance, and you start kind of leading with confidence. And I think when that really switches, and you start going, hey, it's all right to delegate down. Anybody can write a motion. Anybody can, to mediate or try a case. Like, I don't need to be doing that 24/7. That's not where my value lies. When you start to realize that and trust other people more, and, you start to own that leadership, and then you're really in the CIEO role, because a lot of people never get there. They still stay in the business. They're not on it. They're in it. And they're definitely not above it.
I've always distinguished between law firm owners and law firm leaders. And then it's funny to watch people on LinkedIn when there's a trend, right? Everybody's a CEO. I'm like, how many employees do you have? Oh, I'm about 3. Well, I'm like, okay, you know what? You'll grow into it. Don't worry about it. But you instinctively know, like, even when you're at the masterminds, in a lot of the masterminds, mislabeling of team members is a huge issue, right? So when somebody's like, oh, I brought my COO. So I'm thinking, let me pull them aside. I said, listen, if you don't mind me asking, how much you make? Because I know now the levels of operations. I understand it. And then they tell you the number, and you go, that's not the COO that I'm thinking about. But again, like, to each his own, that's all part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So your number one, and I've heard you mention this almost on every podcast I listen to with you, is your comfort level with risk. Your number one advice is taking risk. So what's the scariest risk you took that ended up paying off in a big way?
I mean, it sounds so basic, but the scariest risk I took was realizing that I shouldn't be managing the lawyers anymore. Lee Rosen, I don't know if you know Lee,
I
but
do.
Lee
Yeah.
Rosen, like I learned, that's where I met Ryan in the first place, and Jay Ruane. And Lee would tell me when I was using him for coaching early on, like, you're not going to get where you want to be unless you get out of your own way. And he also was kind of like, you're also going to fail with the first, couple people probably that you hire in a managing attorney role. So get ready to fail.
I wish it was only a couple.
Yeah. So it's like, get ready to fail and have this massive failure, and it's going to hurt. But if you don't do it, you're never going to get there. So that was really scary for me, because I just sort of felt like I was conflating being the managing attorney with being the CEO of the firm. And I wasn't really understanding the difference. And I don't know why it took me as long as it did, but I realized, after a lot of pain, that I should not be managing the lawyers. We weren't going to grow to where we needed to be. So I went through some of that failure and finally got, somebody in that seat, and it really paid off for me, because then I didn't have to worry about, oh, should I hire this associate? I don't have time to deal with them. I don't want to deal with them. I got somebody else to do that I'm paying to do that. And I can start to do the things that no one else could do. Somebody else can manage the lawyers. I didn't need to be doing that. Sickness that you think you got to do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I also think, you bring up an interesting distinction that none of this you learn except the hard way, which is there's a huge difference between leading and managing.
Yeah. Huge.
Right? Huge. And you don't understand it. And then all of a sudden you have that epiphany and you go, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So you talked about your big epiphany of, I'm going to basically fire myself as the managing attorney.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm out of that seat. But I recently had the epiphany of, I'm firing myself out of operations. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. And it's eating too much of my time. Yeah. And I had that same epiphany, right? And to me, when you reach a certain size or scale, you go, is it a risk? Maybe, but is it really a big risk? Is it really a big risk if I'm doing the right analysis on the people that I bring into them fill those seats, right?
You make a good point about operations. I think that's something that a lot of the time people have a hard time letting go of, because they think, oh, well, that is the business. That's running the business. That's true, but that's not the same thing as, being a leader at all. No, it was easier for me to do that because I knew, like you, I knew I didn't like it. I didn't want to be doing it. So, I hired my brother to start doing that in 2019. And that was a great move. It was harder for me to let go of the other stuff, but you make a good point. A lot of people don't think about how important it is and what a time suck it is and how we're not the right people to be doing it.
No. We are horrible at it, most of us. If you're truly, and I hate to use the word visionary because I always think of the crystal ball, but if you're truly the visionary type of mindset where you're just ideas, vision, strategy, ideas, you really only have 3 jobs in my world, right? It's vision casting and protection, making sure you got that right people, right seat motif set, like picking, I love that people aspect when I used to hate it. And then closing only the things you can close, right? Maybe you're assessing, or your COO is assessing an acquisition, but you're the guy that gets brought in to close it, right? Or the girl that gets brought, the woman that gets brought in to close it. And operations, I had the epiphany. I was like, oh my God, I know we need systems. I could not hate something more, right? Seriously. It's just, and I'm not good at it. I'm just not. I have some really seasoned players now that they could systematize anything. And I'm like, oh, Lord, just use the following words. I got it, and I'm out. I will throw my hands up, and you're good. Just do whatever you want to do, right? So
that's gold. That's gold.
Oh, it's crazy. So quick break to thank Meet Gabby, the voice AI that answers your phone, screen leads, and books consults 24/7. They'll even send out retainers if the person on the other end of the phone asks for a retainer. If intake is slowing you down, check out meetgabby.com. This episode is supported by TonaLaw, a modern law firm built on integrity and innovation. Learn how they're changing the game at TonaLaw.com. Attorney referrals accepted from across the country. You'll see what it's like when you send us a case. You'll have some happy clients. Everybody talks about the risks that paid off, right? Talk about a risk that backfired and what you learned from it. I always learn more from my expensive mistakes than I do the wins.
I mean, I'd say a lot of mistakes I've made are the biggest one I think is operating from a scarcity mindset at times when it came to like a staff and attorneys and being like, oh, I've got to hang on to this person, even though I know they're not a good culture fit, even though they're kind of toxic, but hey, they're doing a lot of work and they're generating a lot of revenue and they've been here a long time and I got to hang on to them, or my loyalty, my blindness for loyalty, which is so important to me, would outweigh the other virtues. I'm like, I'm loyal to this person's been loyal to me, and I'm not seeing then how it's damaging other staff, or I lose other staff because of this person, or I lose, this person becomes a time suck and then it backfires in like a spectacular way and I finally had to get rid of them. But but I should have done that years ago. And it's like hanging on to people too long, and it comes down to that with everything, like that scarcity versus abundance mindset. And I think when you get into a scarcity mindset thinking, I got to hold on to people, I got to grab every client, I've got to do all the things, you're not making the better choices. And you got to free yourself from that to kind of have the big picture view of going, I should only be doing things as a leader that are worth my time. I should only have staff here that really fit with my values. I should only have clients here that are going to, be the ideal client. I don't need every client. I just need the best ones.
Right. Well, it's so funny. We are talking the same language right now. So I had a bunch of epiphanies that just lined up with what you just said. But I mean, I am so core value first when it comes to team. And I realized even this year, now I'm 57 years old. I've been doing this a minute, right? I've been doing this 24 years. I was like, I'm applying these core values to every single thing. Vendors. I got a vendor who was trying to sell me something, did not align with my core values. I was like, look, you could send me 100 of your contracts. I'm never signing. Right. And by the way, I hate managing vendors. So that's going to my COO when I hire them.
You don't have to do it. Exactly.
I'm not doing it anymore. Right. Yeah. So, but the core values answer everything, even with client selection. In PI, there's just industry-wide, everybody's just scrambling. Google killed everybody on in December 1st. There was like everybody went off the cliff with Google AdWords and all of this stuff. It was chaos. And so got to take everything. And finally, I was like, look, I'm hiring another trial lawyer right now as we speak, but don't be afraid to show up and talk to me about clients on our L10 meeting that just don't align with our core values. I don't care about the case value. We will move past that, right? We will do the right thing if it doesn't align with our core values. It applies to every single thing. And if you're stuck in your business, you said something genius before, which was your core values answer every question you have.
They really do.
But you get caught up in the moment and you forget that the simplest thing is to take those 6 core values or 5 core values and say, how does this framework apply to this problem? Right. Yeah. And you're talking very fast. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Seattle, but nobody ever thinks that.
Because you are moving like a New Yorker right now. Like you are like bam, 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 and you're unpacking a lot of wisdom. So I'm trying to slow myself down as I'm having these epiphanies. No, you are. The stuff you're talking about, there's so much wisdom in, right? Yeah. So for people that are listening to this, look, I would hazard a guess that probably 85% of the people listening to this don't have real core values, or they're aspirational and they're not practiced, right?
Write them down. Write them down. And
run
everything and through it. Yeah.
Look, I think that at the highest levels of what we're trying to do and the game we're trying to play is you got to do a lot of deep focus work on the stuff between your ears, which means spending time with pen and paper, isolated, right? Really isolated. And so don't just sit down and write down 5 nice things that sound good on a piece of paper.
No.
What do you stand for? And that's typically where the core values of the organization will come from, right? Because first it is, what is your why? What do you stand for? And then you could say, oh, this is the business I want. This is what I want my business to stand for. And then start to align the people, the clients, the vendors, all around that.
Yeah.
So
if you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you're starting from, then you don't know the business that you want. That's totally true. And what you said really, what you just dropped is so true. You have to spend that time with what's between your head. And I think a lot of law firm, maybe people listening, a lot of people have a hard time realizing that's the work.
That's the work.
Yeah, you have to have time on your calendar where you're not running around doing all the things. Like you have to have the time up here in between your ears, because that's where the work is. That's where the ideas are. That's where you figure out what your values are. If you don't spend that time and you're just too busy working on the client work or doing the next thing, you're not going to figure it out.
Right.
You're missing out, right? Yeah,
Right.
that's the work.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant thing that you said. That is the work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but again, it comes from the way you've analyzed everything, right? Like you've been doing this a minute yourself, and again, accomplishing the scaling that you have, right? What are you at, 16 attorneys now?
Yeah, 16
in 10 years.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute that rapid growth to? If you had to pick like a handful of things, marketing's got to be a big part of that, right? Because if you have the work coming in, now you got to service the work. So like, I mean, did you have a marketing secret that kind of triggered things?
I wish that I did. But no, I think in the early years, I spent no money on marketing. I didn't do anything. I didn't spend money on marketing. It was really like word of mouth and hustle. And the best advice, if anybody is looking to scale and they're just trying to think, should I spend money on marketing? The best advice I got in the beginning was, and again, this was Lee Rosen, it was find 20 referral sources, or even start with 10. Find 10 or 20 referral sources that will refer to you every other month, 6 times a year. And think about it. Like for me, I was like, okay, a decent family law case back then was worth 20 grand. So if I've got 20 people referring to me, I've got 10 people referring to me. And that's a really easy way to build $1 million business that's sustainable with no marketing. Right. So that was the first thing I did. And then I started layering the marketing. And now we're doing all kinds of cool marketing stuff now. But really for me, the growth was about making it be sustainable by not, being dependent on Google or whatever, making it be, like you said earlier about the work, you have to have people doing good work, because if you're getting client complaints and people don't like your work, your clients aren't coming back to you. They're not sending people. So we started just doing really good work. And to me, that was the most important thing. I mean, that sounds so basic, but do good work and make good connections. And then anybody can layer the marketing after that.
You are hitting it right on the head. Here was the discovery I had last year, because we do good work.
Yeah.
But we weren't communicating with the clients.
Right. You got to tell the clients about what you're doing.
So I sat everybody down and I was like, I had a client that was about to fire us. You know why? Because we didn't tell her we have a offer on her file that is 3x what every other law firm's going to get. I'm about to watch a $50,000 legal fee walk out the door, and it's 3 times what another firm would get her, because you're not telling her how great you are.
Yep.
Call a client, like what I used to do, and you probably did the same thing because you're a marketing person. I could tell you could sell ice to an Eskimo. I'm talking to the client. I go, listen, you're not going to believe this. Your case is probably worth 100 grand if you go to every other firm, and we're at 150. That client will never leave. It just took me 15 seconds to explain it. And now the lights are going off, and now we got happy clients, high touch communication, and all the marketing is, kind of doing like you said, we layered on the marketing and we're doing all that stuff.
You nailed it though. You nailed it. Pick up the phone, tell the client. And young lawyers don't do that. They just don't. Pick up the phone, talk to your client. That's it. That's what, when I thought about communication in the beginning, talk to these people, tell them what you're doing. Somebody taught me a long time ago, every time you do something on a case, let them know. I'd be like, just let them know, hey, I just emailed the prosecutor about your case to discuss what I see as issues. I learned that really early on. Or, hey, I just heard about this. Or, hey, got your treatment report. Just telling them you're doing stuff and you're out there for them.
Yeah.
I've got this idea. I've got that.
Now,
and they want to hear it.
The case management software has made it so easy, right?
Easy.
So you're a millennial, you like to text. Do something on the case. Shoot a 10-second text message. Hey, I'm just letting you know, we got some medical records in, been working on your file. We'll set up a call as soon as we have a major update for you.
Totally.
These clients will fall at your feet. And yet, 57 years old, it took me till last year when I was like, why do I have unhappy clients ready to fire me when we got a 3x offer on a case? I thought I was going crazy, and I got the best advice, even at the point we're at now. And I think we have 35 people in total.
Nice.
And again, we try to keep it very profitable. I'm very conscious about that bottom line number, because those vanity metrics are, I have 35. That means nothing to me. Right. If you're not making 200 grand a head, don't talk to me about your number of employees, because you got to have a healthy balance sheet that reflects those employees as profit centers, right? So, but the realization is, you got to have these happy clients. You got to be communicating with them, like you were saying. So yeah, and I think this is all part of the process, right? As you grow a business, you go, oh, I'm really good at bringing in cases. And then you go, oh, we got to service these cases, and not only service them, you got to hire A-level lawyers, and it's expensive and it's worth it every time. Spend
100%.
the money.
Take care of your people.
Money.
Take care of your people. That's the other thing. I think you get people that don't do that. They don't realize you've got to compensate well. You've got to take care of them. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else. And, and the people that you'll get will be the people that will not take care of your clients.
Right.
And it will damage your reputation.
The people that you're afraid of because of the price tag are actually the best investment. But again, try telling that to Tom from 20 years ago, who was terrified and was like, oh, I'm going to set a budget of this for the lawyer, right? Versus Dopey, you got $15-30 million worth of cases. You need lawyers that can actually turn it into that, right? Yeah.
They're going to be profit centers, and you don't realize that when you're starting out. So people need to think about revenue generators as driving the business rather than, it's almost like I tell people, you can't afford not to have revenue generators. It's not, can I afford it? It's how can I afford not to?
Right. So. But you know what, Michelle? It's so easy for us to say, right? Because
we've been
through it. We've been through it, right? When you look at your revenue and you go, I can only afford $100,000 for a lawyer.
Right.
Well, they're going to listen to us going, I already could tell them what that's going to yield. You could already tell them what that's going to yield versus, exactly. And the problem is we continuously wrestle with fear. Yeah. I think leaders have to really analyze every day what's going on between their ears and what is holding them back. When you listen and you go, I'm not spending. I talk to business owners that are making north of $8 million a year. I go, I can't hire that, but I'm thinking you'd be making 20 if you just did it, right? But
rip the Band-Aid off.
But to each their own, right? To each their own.
For sure.
You mentioned operations before and systems. Mm-hmm. So you opened up, you said in 2013.
Mm-hmm, correct.
And you brought your brother on. Was that when you started doing the systemization? Was when he came on as the COO?
I started before. I probably started nailing down systems in 2016, but I wasn't good at it. So we started having, systems in 2016, but they were struggling, man. It was like the last thing I did, It was there, but it wasn't really there. Or I would always try to get other employees brought on into documenting it. They don't want to do that, and they're not going to do it. So it wasn't until Tony, my brother, came on that we really started, okay, we're going to have systems for how we do things, and we're going to hold people accountable to following them, because that's the other part, right? Like accountability.
I was just going to say, a monthly audit where you random audit, is this system being followed? Is it efficient? Is it effective? All the stuff I hate to do. So what was the epiphany? You hated to do it. You weren't good at it. You brought your brother on.
He started doing it, and when he started doing it, we started being more efficient, and we started being able to handle, and capacity opens up, and you're like, oh, okay, spending the money, and spending the money on somebody in that seat, and spending the money on better software, better systems, and spending the time on that, and having people do it when they thought it was just something that was a pain for them. It made their lives easier, and it's made it so, and somebody's now not having to explain how we do this or that. It's just documented. It's there. You learn it. You do it once. And now we're able to service more clients. I mean, systems are the key to efficiency. If you don't do that, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to be able to handle very many clients. So.
And before you spend more money, optimize what you have.
Yeah, so optimize what you have. Totally.
We have, I don't know how many different software platforms, and then we were just about to hire another one for recruiting, right? And I got annoyed because the vendor was really challenging to deal with. And so I went silent. I went to my HR person. I said, listen, we have a very robust payroll system that offers a recruiting arm that my friend is running a multiple 8-figure law firm, and that's where he does all of his recruiting through. Go and optimize what we got. I don't want to talk to this vendor again. So another takeaway, because you brought up technology, is, and lawyers like us, leaders like us, you want to write a check and make problems go away. Right? Like that's just how we operate, because you're moving fast through everything. And so don't write the check. Optimize what you have. Make sure it's running efficiently, like you said. So I want to ask you about a question that's near and dear to my heart, which is AI.
Mm.
So are you using AI in your firm now?
We are starting to, and I'm using it every day. Like I'm using it constantly. I
Yeah.
mean, the other day I was I've got a meetup group, I've got a podcast, I've got a few things going on. And I was like, I need to build websites for these. And so I went to Claude and I was like, build me a website, and it builds you a website, you know? So I'm using it a lot in what I'm doing, and we're trying to bring it now down to the team. I mean, we run on Google Workspace, and so Gemini's included. I mean, you got Notebook LM in there, you've got access to the Gemini platform. I mean, how can you not be using it? And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I think there's a certain amount of fear, especially with support staff. They're like, oh, this is going to take our jobs, you know, but we've got discovery attorneys and they're already like, oh my gosh, this is amazing how we can use AI to even help with discovery. But I think support staff is worried about it. I don't get as much fear sense from the attorneys, but you know, it's a tool. And I think we have to remember too, AI is only as good as what you put into it.
Right.
So it's not here to take your job. It's here to make you more efficient.
Right.
You still have to give it the language to use and to know how to use it.
A thing I didn't realize that you're talking about, because I used to come back from wherever I was doing whatever masterminds or conferences or coaching. And I'd be like, all right, we're doing this, right? And I didn't realize the concept of change management and how important it is. It's a big thing. And I have friends that have people with one position in their firm, you know, they've got probably 100 employees where they have somebody dedicated to change management. Now, I have people in the operation seats that are very versed in change management. So now we're actually taking our time in how we're introducing the concept, right? And look, AI is a tool, like you said. It's like money. If you're a utilitarian person like me, like money is a tool that allows me to buy more tools. That's how I look at it, right? I used to keep score on certain things, but AI specifically, we are very AI native. Like from start to finish, I'm implementing voice AI shortly, replacing an answering service that left clients on hold for 1.5 minutes. And the clients are like, I want to fire my lawyer. And they're like, okay, thanks. What's your email? Right. I just finished signing a contract today for a product that actually handled that call better than a live person. It said, I'm really sorry, and I'm going to escalate this right now and mark it urgent, and I will have the managing attorney call you back within an hour. And the person said, well, I was testing it. I said, well, why shouldn't I fire you now? And it said, here's the deal. We will make this better, and you could hold us accountable to the following metrics. This came from the bot that, quite honestly, I'm paying a fortune for live answering. And that person, I was cringing when I sent it to my marketing team. I was like, I cannot believe how bad the answering service is doing.
Right.
This,
especially you're paying these people and it's the first touch that you get.
Yes. But to your point, like we're talking about it with, like you said, support staff. The attorneys love it. And we're testing competing products that do discovery, right? Discovery, drafting, that type of stuff. But where we are taking it with the support team is this. You are all solid A+ players, right? Yeah. It's going to allow you to do the work of 10 people with the push of a button, right? So like when my litigation para gets on and she's like, I've got these 20 complaints, I've got to get them drafted. I'm like, how about if you could just push a button and 30 seconds later, you're just reviewing them. And all of a sudden I'm like, listen, I love having you here. I would take 10 of you, but I can't clone you. What I can do is give you software that you can grow old with us and retire here, and you're doing with a push of the button. It's like having 10 people running for you, right? Doing this stuff for you. So yeah, there is a lot of initial fear of the unknown. Like, but again, you know, people were afraid of the TV. People were afraid of the internet, right? I know
people
lawyers
are afraid
that
of everything.
Yeah, fear.
And it starts somewhere.
Listen, already people are telling me, well, what about if there's breakage and people hang up on your voice AI? And I said, I expect it. But here's what I know. By the end of the year, Amazon, Google, and all of these other big entities that people interact with daily, they're already using voice AI. They're already using chatbots. So guess what? I'll be one of the first law firms and they'll be used to dealing with it by then. I'm willing to put up with some short-term breakage, but I'm telling you, you know, you're also lulled into the false sense of security. I'm like, oh, I got live answering till I start listening to the calls. And I was like, I'm going to kill myself. I was madder for that client being left on hold for 1.5 minutes to have that person who just wasn't even really listening. Right. That person, like you said, they want hope. Right? And they want security. And that answering service gave them neither.
It destroys it.
The robot did it better. The robot was more empathetic. I played it for my wife. I go, listen to this. Listen to it side by side. The robots should put call centers out of business if that's the way they're answering the phones.
For real. No, I mean, that's brilliant too, that you're willing to take the risk and do it. Because sure, is it going to be perfect? No.
No.
But you're not going to learn and you're not going to get better if you're not willing to do that stuff. I love that you're doing it. I mean, I'm seeing those products out there and I'm wondering, okay, this is something I've got to look at. And hearing that you're doing it is
listen, I'm
actually
telling you now,
super inspiring.
I tested 30 different vendors. I settled on one. It's not a secret. I told Ryan I'd start talking about it, but it's Meet Gabby. Gabby. They do all different areas of law. And I just tested the most challenging client scenario. And I was like, this is better than 90% of people that I can get on the phone for this.
Yeah.
Right. Other than me, which I'm not scalable. Right. Oh, and by the way, it'll take 1,500 calls in and answer them simultaneously. Wow. I mean, it's mind-blowing capacity. Mind-blowing capacity. So I think that the disruption that we are living through and your fearlessness, that's what's going to lead you to the 100 million mark, right? Like you're fearless and you're going, I'm going to look at these products for me, for my firm, right?
Totally.
Jay Ruane is doing it with mitigation reports and all of these different things. He's not using Meet Gabby. I think he's building it himself, but I don't want to build it myself. Like I'm ready to talk to this company about becoming a part owner in it. Like, I believe in it that much because as a tool, I don't know what's going on in the human sphere of like, how do your job is to answer phones, right? Like your job is an answering service to answer phones. I was appalled at what I heard. I was appalled and I was like, I know how much they're charging me, but so it was kind of crazy. And if you knew that your family law clients could get their call picked up first ring, empathy, and say, listen, you know what? You're going through a really tough time. Let me get the lawyer on the phone for you. And they get a lawyer on the phone. Like that to me is way more important than all my calls get answered by a live human, except 50% of the time that live human is either watching the Jerry Springer show or something else, right? Like, come on.
Totally. Or they're doing a million other things. Yeah, no, that's true. Quality is, and if a robot can do it better, let them do it.
Yes. And I also think that the technology stuff that you're bringing in, because all of my leadership team is on paid versions of ChatGPT, and ChatGPT 5 I find to be really robust, robust.
It is.
We use Claude, and like I said, we're testing a couple of discovery products for litigation, and we're also building a lot of custom GPTs. I love it. And again, it's not to replace anybody, right? It's designed for what would have taken me, I don't know, a dozen hours to explain to a young associate about the lien law and personal injury, the different cases that apply. Now I built a custom GPT that takes about an hour to train them.
That's great.
It's an hour to train them,
I
so
mean,
it's kind of
you
crazy.
can train faster. You can educate your staff and clients. I mean, use the tools. I think that people that are going to be scared of the tools are going to, avoid them and they're going to fall behind. And that's going to happen. We've seen it with everything else, you know?
So what will happen is when you're interviewing attorneys and paralegals and you say, well, how comfortable are you with AI? And you get somebody who's a whiz kid at it, right? That's the person you're going to hire over the person who comes in. I had the experience. I had a lawyer who's like, and he said, I could do it all. And I didn't ask him, do you know how to use a computer? I didn't think in this day and age, 2020 on, you need to ask that. So first day in, how do you get the email on the little thing on the email? So the second day it happened. By the third day, I was like, listen, we're a paperless office. I can't get you up to speed on how to use a Mac. How to use a computer. Right. You either have an iPhone or you don't. I don't know. I couldn't
help you.
I couldn't wrap my head around it. But I love what you said about balancing tech adoption with that psychological concern that support staff has, because you can't underestimate that. There's a right way to implement that change. And I'm seeing you got to roll it out slow. You got to roll it out measured. You got to make people feel psychologically safe.
You do. I think that's huge. I mean, you want your people to feel secure. You also need them to trust you. I think this is something like, people see something new, or they see new stuff we're doing with marketing, or they see the AI and they suddenly start to feel like, oh my gosh, am I going to have too much work? Or is this AI going to replace me? And, you need to have security with them. You need to let them know, hey, like you said earlier, which was a great thing to say, you're an A player, right? We want you here. You're in the right seat for us. And this is going to help make your job better. And this is going to help make things easier and better for you. Like, don't be scared of it. and embrace it. That's which sounds like you're really doing, which is great.
Well, I think also, but again, I just learned this stuff. Like, I was never great
Me
at
too.
it, believe me. I mean, one of the things I had an epiphany of last year, I was like, we got to do a better job of communication, like with the team. Right. We thought we were great. We have EOS, all of these things. Like, we got to do a way better job of communicating everything with the team. You know, I just think communication with clients, what I found, and I'm sure you'll say, yeah, duh, but I found the same issues I was having with clients I was having with the team. When clients were complaining about communication, the team was complaining about it with their feet. They were leaving. And I realized that it was all the same, right? Look, at the heart of it, we run a human-based business. So all the tech in the world is great. I don't think that text message replaces phone calls, like you said.
Right.
You know,
totally. Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. And it's hard. It's hard to convince people to do it with clients, but yet you have to also model that with the team. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and tell them there's an issue or whatever. So how are you feeling about your KPIs and your data?
Good. You know, we actually just finished a major project to build new dashboards, which is another thing like I wouldn't have done before. I wouldn't have invested in. I was kind of like, I mean, we had our ways of getting the data, but now being able to look and to know, hey, anytime I want to know where are we at with intake, where are we at on the legal team, who's productive, where are we at? I mean, you are nothing without your data and you're not going to grow. I definitely think, you know, you can hustle and grow to a couple million, but you're not going to really grow much past 5 unless you're really on it with your data. So I mean,
data and systems, data systems and people.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I never would have been the person to build the data. I just want to look at it. I just want to play around with it. But having that and having KPIs and accountability for the team, you can't hold people accountable to KPIs if you don't have a handle on the data. So it all starts with data and systems.
Right.
That's been hitting the stride for me in a way that I feel like, you know, wasn't a few years ago. So that's huge.
Yeah. And sharing the data with the team. Let them see that they're winning or they're struggling. And it opens up the conversations. It's not.
It does.
I tried to explain to people as we were rolling out EOS, it's not about micromanagement, right? No. The data opens up conversations for me. Right. It speaks to me. I'm a very numbers oriented person. So when I look, I could look at the P&L and all of a sudden it's opening up conversations I need to have in whatever line item I'm looking at. Right. Or the questions. And I feel like that's our job too, is to know the numbers, have financial literacy, because a lot of people stick their head in the sand.
They do, because they don't want to know. You know, if you're not confronted with it too, even the staff, like there's all kinds of data, right? So there's how much revenue you're generating. There's, you know, but NPS scores for attorneys and staff, like they don't want to know. That's data that matters. And they're like, why are we doing this? Why are we asking people? I'm like, because we want to know if there's a problem ahead of time. That's data that they don't really want to be confronted with. But then when it's good, you get to be like, hey, this client loves you. That's great. You have to give the good data as well as the data they need to improve on. You have to.
Oh my God, it's like you've been in my office recently. But listen, I got some earners. And I've been around earners now in the PI space for a while. Right. But I said, you got 3 KPIs. Everybody gets 3 KPIs. The number, right? You got to put the numbers on the sheet. Got to be putting them up. The net promoter score. You better have happy clients. And a team net promoter score. Your team needs to love you, right?
Absolutely.
You could be putting up numbers, but if those other 2 scores are not where they need to be, we're having conversations.
Yeah. For real.
And that's the epiphany, because it ties it all together. It's the data component, the people component, and the revenue component, right?
It really does. It brings it all in one.
It really does. And there are 3 simple components. If I'm a lawyer and I'm good with people, I'm going to have great net promoter scores, great team promoter scores, and I know I'm going to put the numbers up. I become Michael Jordan. Yes. Right? Then I become the Michael Jordan of lawyers or law firm team members, and everybody loves Michael Jordan. You know what? Michael Jordan makes a lot of money, and Michael Jordan deserves to make a lot of money. Right?
Totally.
So, I love what you're saying, man. This is why Ryan wanted me to meet you, because he was like, you guys are going to love each other. You're going to hit it off.
I know. I'm like, we're on the same page. Man.
I can't wait to meet you in person now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what marketing channel right now consistently drives the best clients for you? Referrals, SEO, something else?
I'd say a combination of referrals and SEO. And it's interesting because I never really spent that much time on SEO before. I was kind of like, oh, whatever. But we've been redoing our website. We're using Hennessy, which has been great.
Nice. I know Jason. Yep.
Yeah. Working with Jason's team. And since working with them, it just even like improvements they made to our current site, and we're getting ready to launch a new one. I'd say and then realizing a lot of the content we did before is still bringing in people. So I'd say we've got a good combination right now of SEO and referrals. I mean, we get a lot of referrals, which is great because we do good work.
There you
But
go.
really, and then I have kind of, I'd say the kind of the up and coming channel for me is doing, like, I host a meetup group, and I do I do twice a month webinar series. So that channel of like connecting with people and my content and putting that content up on YouTube, and taking our TikTok and throwing it on YouTube, and just the content synergy on like fast tips for people and connecting with people and letting them hear your voice. And that's one thing too. And you've got it. Like, not every lawyer, law firm leader can connect with people. And if you can, you got to use that.
Right. And amplify it using digital, and amplify it using social and digital.
Yes. You should be everywhere.
Now, to own a law firm and lead a law firm, you're the face of the firm. You almost have an obligation to be a media company within yourself,
You
a
do.
personal brand that,
You do.
I was looking at your LinkedIn, and I do so much on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't. That's one area of opportunity for me. I don't do LinkedIn. I'm on there, but I'm not doing anything on there. That's the one thing everyone's like, why are you not on LinkedIn? You're everywhere else. I should be. You're doing it. You're nailing it on LinkedIn.
Don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it, because that's where you get a lot of lawyer referrals, right?
Yeah.
Like, look, I had this conversation with James Joseph, and James is a really cool guy. I got to hook you guys up offline, because he's doing stuff in matrimonial. Like, he runs it like a pristine white glove platinum level service, and very similar to you, the way he operates and all of it. And I said, dude, you are where PI lawyers were in the digital space 20 years ago. Like, triple down, because most family law lawyers are not playing the digital game.
No,
right?
No,
There's,
they're not.
There's maybe a 10% of matrimonial family lawyers that are doing it. So, like, you've got a complete blue ocean right now. Go crazy, man. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to get those leads. You're going to get the traction. Look, I think that that's awesome. Now I know why Ryan was like, you got to get her on your podcast. So I want to do a quick lightning round, and I'll get you off because I want to be respectful of your time. A system that every firm should steal from you. One system that you're like, if I wish I was doing this forever, it's really been amazing for me.
One system everybody should have. Well, I mean, it sounds so basic, but everybody should have an intake team. And everybody should have that intake team systemized. Like, we have what's called Gold Team, and they are the team that's frontline for the consults. And we've got a direct system of how they handle those consultations, and having a system for your intake, and not just the calls coming in, but the lawyers that are handling the consultations. Having an intake system and having a first line. Not everybody gets to do consultations. Not everybody gets to play. Only the best get to do them. And having that system, I think you can't lose. You got to close them. Doesn't matter how many leads you have. You got to close them.
Right. Yeah, listen, intake, and people spend so much money on the marketing piece, and then their intake falls apart, and it's like, maybe stop spending as much and fix intake.
Fix intake. Right? Intake has to be first.
Yeah. One hire you made too late that you wish you made earlier in the game.
Somebody to handle HR and benefits, and somebody to handle the administration. I should have made that hire at 15 or 20. I didn't make that hire till about 30. So
they don't tell you that, right? They don't tell you office manager at 7, HR at 15. Like, those are pretty hard and fast numbers at this point. Like, if you hit 15 people and you're stressed, it's because you need an HR person.
You need an HR person. That was a hire I made. I should have made a lot earlier.
Yeah. So listen, I want to be respectful of your time. I know that you came out with Tiger Tactics. You were one of the authors in the CEO edition. I'm in the process of reading it right now. I'm not up to yours yet. I have listened to your podcast, Divorce Confidential, right? Are you still doing it?
Yeah, we're still doing it. Yeah, not as much as we should be, but we're still doing it.
Listen, I think that's a gold mine too. Like, nobody will tune in and listen to a personal injury podcast. I don't think. No. I don't think for plaintiffs that's the game. That's why I love talking about business. That's why I do this, and I get a lot of referrals from other lawyers because of this.
Of course.
I think that the podcast for divorce content, free content for that space specifically, whether it's like, Billy Tarasio, because she's one of your co-authors in Tiger Tactics. She shut off everything. She just goes on TikTok, right?
Okay.
And she's got so many leads coming in from that because she talks about the real stuff that people are, listen, there's very few things that scare me in life. But I know if my wife said, I want a divorce, I would panic. I would not know where to turn, and I would want to listen to all the free content I could get, because getting it when you're paying for it is extremely expensive.
Yeah,
So
no, I think so too. And I think about that with the podcast all the time. Like we've had a lot of guests on and that's worked, but I think people just want to talk and they want to hear and they want those free tips. I mean, I've been doing that on TikTok for a couple of years now and just even dropping a 2-minute tip, the traction those get. It's like you said, people, they want to know. So that kind of stuff is great.
And then they show up in your office. Like on TikTok, we have a pretty decent amount of people. I haven't been actively doing it in a while, but I heard one client come in and go, "Oh, you're so-and-so. I see you on TikTok." Yeah. Right. So I hear those comments. You're like, I cannot believe how much this amplifies it if you just keep putting the content out.
You just got to keep doing it. Be consistent. Absolutely.
So where do you want people to connect with you? A lot of lawyers listen to this. I think you gave away immense value. Where do you want them to connect with you? Where, one, they should be following you, because if I had a matrimonial matter in your neck of the woods, you're the firm that needs it, right? Like you're the firm that got to get it because of the way you're running it. But where should people follow you?
If you want to follow me, follow me on TikTok at Seattle Divorce Lawyer. If you want to connect with me, literally email me. It's Michelle@DellinoLaw.com. I love to talk to other lawyers. I love to talk to anybody. I'm not scared to put my email out there. Drop me a line, chat with me. Awesome. If you want to reach out to our firm, our website's DellinoLaw.com. Check it out. Get in touch. And thanks for the time today.
Michelle, thank you.
This was great.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. This episode is sponsored by TonaLaw. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. TonaLaw is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out TonaLaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. This episode is also brought to you by Meet Gabby, the voice AI built for law firms. Gabby answers your phones 24/7, qualifies leads, and books consultations so you never miss another client. Imagine cutting intake time in half while giving every caller a 5-star experience. That's the power of Meet Gabby. Learn more at meetgabby.com. Mention the Lead Counsel Podcast. You can also hit me up, and I'm glad to make an introduction to the owner.